All right. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I have a very special guest today, Miss Karen Douglas. She's the program manager of the Onward to Opportunity program, the O2O, as it's
Yeah.
affectionately called. It is one of a potential skills bridge opportunities that is available to service members, both active, veteran, and then, believe it or not, your spouses. This program is available for them as well. And so we're going to have Karen talk about it today. I discovered this program as I was going through my transition classes. And not only did it catch my eye right away because of the offering that it had, but also, to be quite honest, Karen is a dynamic speaker who you could feel the excitement of this program when you brief it, and it's encouraging because it's not just like, hey, go do this, you'll be fine. You show genuine care toward the service members, spouses, and families on when you recommend this program. And to me that meant a lot. To me that meant this was more than just a job for you to do. This was something you had a genuine care for in doing. So you had me sold right away, and I am grateful for you for having helped me get accepted to this program. And I just want to thank you very much for coming on our show today.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I always say that I've never served, so I feel like this is my part that I'm doing in other ways, not just being a social worker, but also being the program manager. I cover Fort Campbell and Fort Knox. So, yeah, I feel like this is definitely me doing my part, not being in the military, but being a dependent. My father served. Husband was a retired Navy, is retired Navy. So I'm definitely doing my part as far as being, giving back. And I do that with Onward Opportunity. So yeah, definitely have a passion for it. And it is a great opportunity. And this is just one of the programs that's offered at Fort Campbell. So I'm one of probably 16 CSPs or career skills programs or skill bridges that are offered for the military. Just another opportunity for you guys. Getting out of the military the last 6 months of your separation or retirement that you guys are able to do. And the fact that it doesn't cost you anything. So that is a plus. So,
Yes,
mhm.
yeah. As I've mentioned to you earlier, when I was sitting in a room for the transition classes and the skills bridge classes, we had ranged from first year privates on their very first tour to people who were unexpectedly being separated due to a medical condition or whatever have you, all the way to a 30-year colonel who's coming out of a command.
Right.
And to a T, everyone was like listening, because when you see the program offering that you have,
Mhm.
I think what a lot of us, when we leave the service, if we don't have an industry specific type of career path, like in the Army Medical Department, we have healthcare administrators as a job. So a lot of them have certifications tied that way.
Mhm.
I'm not one of those.
Mhm.
So when you go and you look at jobs that are opening up on the civilian side and careers, you see things like certifications or sometimes a requirement of the job.
Mhm.
So when I heard that, we were like, wow, this is a heck of an opportunity, and we'll get into more about this later. But I also want to highlight, you're covering Fort Knox and Fort Campbell, so you
Mhm.
have quite a bit of commitment to a large number of soldiers, distance that you're traveling, and when you do go in person to these classes and virtual. So I mean, what is that like? I mean, you're balancing two installations full of separating officers, and how do you manage that?
So normally, because I'm based here at Fort Campbell,
Mhm,
of course, I'm a remote worker out of because I'm an employee through Syracuse University.
mhm,
But I am also one. There's a me at 19 other installations.
mhm,
So um, focused on Fort Campbell, focused on Fort Knox. But if you're outside my 50-mile radius and there's not one at an installation near you, then I'm definitely going to set you up virtually. So I'll still, whether you're from Arsenal or I've had from Japan, I've had Africa. So if you're not near a location and you still reach out to me, I'm still going to invite you into the cohort. I'll set you up probably Fort Knox, because those are the main ones that are outside the 50-mile radius. So I'll add you in through those. But because I'm based here at Fort Campbell, I'll bring you in through Fort Knox as a virtual student. So I'll have you guys Zoom in
Mhm.
through us. I would do virtual or in-person classes on occasion, but lately they have been all virtual for
Mhm.
us. I will never have you guys drive down from Fort Knox to come and do an in-person. That's just a little, it's just not convenient. So I will always have you guys Zoom in. And occasion I would drive up before. I would drive up to do classes from
Mhm.
Fort Knox, but they're just not that big.
Mhm.
So I just have everybody Zoom in for those. And then for my orientations, I do those every Thursday via Zoom. So
Mhm.
I'll have you guys Zoom in for about an hour, just to get the gist of what the program is in detail, a better understanding of it, and make sure that this is something that you really want to do and what the program looks like in order for you to decide that, yes, I'm going to go ahead and go with this, or let me take some time to think about it. But every Thursday I do a virtual orientation. Fort Campbell, I do it in person um, every Wednesday. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of how they get the inside of what the program looks like.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's every week for everybody. So I don't
Yeah.
miss a week or anything. So there's no excuse on why you can't make an orientation for me.
For sure.
Make sure that everybody understands the program before they take that next step.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that was a cool part when we went through not only
Hmm.
your skills, the actual brief during the CSP
Hmm.
course, but then the orientation that we did was was obviously more personal. There's a
Yes.
handful of us in the group, and we really got a feel for what was expected. And
Hmm.
we're going to talk about this, but I want to give a little bit of a just a prequel of what we're
Hmm.
going to talk about today. And if let me share this over here. So this is
Hmm.
so we'll slide back down here quick, but this is the form specific to you, the Onward Opportunity program. The through, as you mentioned earlier, Syracuse University is who you work with.
Hmm.
It gives a quick overview of the program, but what I really want to, uh, which really caught my eye immediately, was all of these program tracks for
Hmm.
certification. And so I'm not saying certificates. If anyone out there listening think I'm saying certificates, I am not. This is full up certifications. The project management professional. You got your HR certifications, and then you can see all of the information technology, Amazon Web Services, cloud. I mean, like this blows my mind that this is this is here. I mean,
Yeah.
there's just so many opportunities that you could use within your program.
Right.
So I'll go back up and I'll close this over here. So can you just talk us through the program itself and
Yeah, for sure. So basically, Onward to Opportunity is a 10-week program. We pay for one certification in business management or IT. So what would happen is you would choose one certification from that list. You decide, I want to choose, say you want to do the project management, which is the most expensive, the most popular when it comes to us. And there's also a 5-day boot camp that's attached to that one. But yeah, say you choose you want to do the project management professional through us. Um, you're going to, decide you want to do that one. You're going to go through the 5-day boot camp with us. That's where you're going to get your 35 hours from, which is education hours. That's going to qualify you to apply for the actual application with the PMI Institute. We pay for that actual certification exam for you. If you've done your research when it comes to the project management professional, you've also looked at the fact that that is going to be between $1,000 and $1,500. That's what we are going to take care of for you. You sit for that exam, cross your fingers, hopefully you pass
Yeah.
that. And you let us know that you pass it because we do not know.
Mhm.
That's something you share with us. We actually just go in and pay for it, but you would pick your time, your location, and date to sit for that exam. That's going to be solely up to you as the individual. But we are giving you your training material. We're giving you your pre-test, your test prep exams. You're getting a learning kit. Like I said, you're going to do that boot camp. That'll be via Zoom as well. That is the time you're going to have an actual instructor that's going to be teaching you that. And that's the only time you'll have an instructor for that specific learning pathway. Everybody else is actually going to be learning self-paced online learning on their own, but the PMP learners will actually have an instructor for those 5 days to do that boot camp, specifically for that boot camp. So that's another plus for that as well. But yes, you are picking time, location, and date to sit for that exam. And again, like I said, cross your fingers you pass that exam.
Right.
Um, Say, for instance, you finish maybe month 3,
Mhm.
you're more than welcome to do another certification. I will give you all the material, your training material, everything you had with the first one. It's just when you sit for that exam, you'll be responsible for that fee. So you can get away with doing more than one certification through this program. It is just you'll be responsible for that fee. So that's another plus or bonus going through the Onwards Opportunity Program. But if your sole purpose or focus is to do one certification, you're more than welcome to do that one. You just have an opportunity to do a second one if you choose to. So, yes, program itself is excellent when it comes to one certification we're going to pay for, but you do have an opportunity to do a second one if you choose to, and you have the time to do so.
Yeah.
So the
That's
program itself, yes, is 10 weeks long, but you have access to do it for 6 months to complete
right.
a second one if you choose to.
Yeah, I think that's something that I've had to explain to a few folks when talking to them about this is,
Yeah.
you know, you are not required the time you have allotted during the CSP window is
Mhm.
one thing.
Yeah.
And if you get it done in there, great. And like you said, you could start another one that you'll
Yeah.
pay for, but you'll get the materials. But you have up to 6 months to finish it. So if
Mhm.
if you're having a hard time or struggling, or life throws you some curveballs, like, you don't have
Absolutely.
to worry about that end of those 10 weeks that, like, well, crap, I have to have this done now. um
Mhm.
and so I thought that was phenomenal, and had to really a lot of people, when I mentioned that, they're like, no, they're just not going to pay for it after that time. I was like, no, they'll pay for it. It's just, you have 6 months.
I think it's a little confusing because we say the 10 weeks and we stress that because of the transitioning service members,
Hmm.
and that 10 weeks is mainly for the transitioning service members. So that's why I think it's a little confusing.
Hmm.
So and I could see that too because they have to go back to work if they're still in the military. So, but along the way, like there are deadlines and there's reminders and things like that, so you're not confused and you kind of keep up with,
Hmm.
those things in between that time, so you don't fall behind or get sidetracked. So, just like college and things like that, you'll have those goals or time you have to meet, but you set your own along the way too. So just to make sure you're on track, you're meeting those set calendar dates and things like that. So
Yeah.
so just
So
keep that in mind.
would a service member who's interested in doing this, would you recommend they, as they're going through the process of identifying what skills, which program they would like to pursue, do the different programs, are
Mhm.
there some that have prerequisites that they will have to be, for like PMP or for the HR? Are there other, bottom line is, do they have to have, or some of them have prerequisites they need to meet? So you can't just randomly say, I want to do this specialty that I
Mhm.
have no experience with whatsoever. I mean, there should be some kind of tie, correct?
Good question. So basically, especially again with the PMP. So the PMP, there is a prereq, and that is going to be a bachelor's degree. It's not a bachelor's degree per se in the project management professional, but it is the bachelor's degree that you are going to have. If you're not quite there yet with the bachelor's degree, then they are going to recommend the CAPM or Certified Associates of Project Management. But there's also, just like that list that we have with all the different certifications that we offer, that's located on our website as well. And those are broken down from the acronym into the prereqs or experience or education, all the way into beginner, intermediate, advanced. They're all broken down in detail on our website. They're also with the human resources, aPHR, PHR, and SPHR.
Mhm.
Those are also broken down from, and I always look at those as like your associates, bachelors, and masters,
Mhm.
kind of like, entry level, beginners, experience. That's kind of how those are too. And
Mhm.
then with the ITs, if you don't have an IT background, it kind of shows, beginners, to, more advanced or the immediate, where you kind of should be at if you're trying to get your feet wet into the IT area, A plus, Net plus, Sec plus, Security plus,
Mhm.
things like that. So one, do your research and kind of get familiar with the different certifications that you might be interested in doing. Um, Two, you can always reach out to me. I've got, some roadmaps when it comes to the IT on what you might be interested in doing and where you should be at, and kind of like next level, kind of like where you should be going or headed to if you're interested in IT, if you're already there. And a lot of my IT people, they kind of just stack the certifications once they're,
Right.
they're in there. But like I said, the website also helps. You guys do an assessment as well when you go through orientation, and that kind of helps you out as well. And they're also looking at LinkedIn and your background when it comes to your education, just to make sure you're going to pursue the correct learning pathway to help you along the way too, because we want you to be successful in the program. So just to make sure you're going under the correct learning pathway as well. Another thing I will say too is, what does that look like for you as far as the learning pathway you're choosing? Is it for a specific job you're applying for? Um, who do you want to work for? Are you focused solely on the IT field? That employer that you're looking to work for, is this a prereq for them, a requirement for them? Is what how I would line it up. So I think all that comes into play when you are trying to choose that specific learning pathway. Or if it's one of those things where your friends already out of the military and you've got it in to the job that he's working at, and this is what you need.
Mhm.
Whatever the case is, just make sure it is going to be beneficial to you, and you have some sort of kind of like a strategy, so to speak, to get to point A, point B, and what that looks like for you. But definitely research is going to be number one for sure, and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, that's great feedback because,
Yeah.
as we look at jobs, and I know myself looking at jobs on the outside, right? Because you always hear, "Don't worry, you're gonna be fine. You've done 20 years, and
Mhm.
your leadership will pay off, and you'll get a job." But then, uh, and that might be true in some cases, right? But then when you look at jobs, it can be daunting because you see the job description first of all, that
Mhm.
is almost like a different language than you have spoken for the last 20 years
Right.
when it comes to business, even though you may be doing business related actions in the staff or whatever. It's different
Mm-hmm.
language, different systems. And then there's always that little bug at the bottom. It's like, uh, PMP certification preferred or required, or
Mm-hmm.
HR certification preferred or required, or then the IT ones as well. And so in the lines of with your research on the programs you want to take, I found that on
Mm-hmm.
my own personal search, uh, what certifications are required for the jobs that I want to pursue.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's kind of different for us, because those aren't always we get assigned to where we get assigned to, and we get the training we need to get trained, and we just do our jobs. But to get our foot in the door, to it's one thing, we got to get our foot in our door, and then we still got to enter the room,
Right.
and some of those conversations, and I think maybe some of the connections we can make through these programs. Do you think those help us with with networking and trying to get in the door?
Absolutely. Networking plays an extremely big part of it. Extremely big part of it. I've had a couple individuals actually come in and speak with some of the participants last week, and they wanted to do that on their own because of what they've experienced already and how they got the jobs, the landed the jobs that they have now because of the networking aspect of it. And they haven't even sat for the exam yet, but the jobs are willing to wait for them to get that, or they know they're going to sit for it, but their networking and their personality and what they've already brought already, they're willing to, overlook them waiting on, sitting for the exam because they did so good with all the other part of it. So definitely networking. I would say networking to the 10th power
Yeah,
has helped tremendously with these two individuals. I'm proud of them.
yeah,
Um, I can't
yeah,
say much more than that. I'm like,
yeah.
and then I would say, I'm not going to talk about their salary, but I would say
Gotcha.
I'm excited about their salaries. That's a whole
Yeah,
other level, but just talking to them about, I'm excited. I'm excited for them. I'm very excited. So, yeah, they said they want to talk to every cohort if they can, and just giving their tips about the
hmm,
interview process and what they did, or what they did already, and they just want to help. So I'm glad
yeah.
about that part of it. So definitely networking for sure, for
That's
sure.
great, and it's great to hear those success stories. And
Yeah.
I know when we talked during the orientation,
Hmm.
you mentioned, like you said earlier, some of the folks, IT folks. I forget what the record was, but he did several of
Kyle.
yeah, several the certifications. But it's great to hear those success stories, and to see the people who are thriving in this. But
I
can
haven't
you?
even brought
Huh?
I haven't even brought Kyle in to speak with anybody yet, but when I do, oh my son is sneezing. I'm
Oh, that's
sorry
fine.
about that.
No,
Oh,
it's all good. It's all good.
but yeah, when I do bring Kyle in to speak, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
But
excited. Can you highlight something that I think is absolutely fantastic, and one of the selling points I've been having, or I've been telling people who I work with,
uh
about how spouses
okay.
can pursue this as well. I mean,
Yes, for
because
sure.
I think that's super important.
Yeah, so, and I think it's just another bonus. Like I said, the program is not just for my transitioning service members, but they were developed for the junior enlisted.
Mhm.
Um, but to add on to um, one free certification. It's offered to my veterans, my spouses, National Guard, and Reserve. Now, my spouses can do this at any time. They don't have to wait for their significant others to be within that 6 months of separation or retirement. So they're more than welcome to do it, whether they're doing it during their 6 months, or they can do it as a veteran, with their, or they can do it at the same time if they want to. I will say this, and I used to joke about this sometimes.
Yeah.
I've had, spouses come through and they do it together. Matter of fact, currently I have a couple in here right now. They're both together. They're doing it now, but they're both active actually. So I will say that they're both in the class right now. They're both active. Um, I always say that either both of them. I've never had two that go through the process and complete it and sit for the exam and pass it. I've never had it
Mm,
out of the whole. It's going on 7 years in August.
okay.
I've either had one do very well, whether it is the husband or the
Mhm.
wife, or I've had the spouse do really well, or I've had the transitioning service member do really well. I've never had both of them go through and sit for the exam and both pass. Now,
Hmm,
I'm not saying it's not ever going to happen. I just haven't had it as of
hmm.
yet. So I've got my fingers crossed. I'm
Yeah.
hoping one day it'll happen. But I think because they haven't figured out how to balance it. Somebody's gotta take care of the kids. Somebody's gotta cook. They've gotta balance the work and the coursework and, the everyday life. They've gotta share the responsibility. And if they can't do that, then yes, somebody's gonna neglect their coursework or the time, and
Mhm.
it's just not gonna get done. So I think that's where the problems come in at. So
Yeah.
yeah, it
Well,
happens.
well, yeah, but that highlights, right, that this isn't. Um, there's a commitment level on the service member or spouse to this program. It's not.
Mhm.
This isn't just clock in and clock out. There's these are certifications that are cost a significant sum that you're paying for, that industries want their employees to have.
Yep.
And so this isn't like we have the mandatory training that we do online all the time, where you're kind of like,
Mhm.
here we go, next slide, next slide, next
Right,
slide. Oh,
right.
I got my certificate. Again,
Mhm.
it's not a certificate, this is a certification.
Certification.
And if you don't have that commitment level, that's something you have to assess, I
Mhm.
think, before you apply for your program.
You've
um,
definitely gotta put your time in it. You gotta be disciplined. I always say you set aside that time, whether it's at nighttime, whether it's on the weekends, whether you're staying up at late at night to do it a couple hours every night. You have to put that time in, if you want to be successful. You have to do that. It's free, but it's just not going to be handed to you. You are going to put your time and effort in. You're going to earn it for
mhm,
sure. So I hate it that it happens,
mhm,
but it does. But I've also seen too that, I've had a spouse up until the very last minute, she was able to get it done at 12. This is 12 o'clock midnight.
mhm.
She was able, and this is the deadline. She was able to get her stuff done 12 o'clock midnight. That means the test prep, 80% on those. She was able to send the screenshots in and get it done. And like I said, it was
Awesome.
up until the very last minute and
Yeah,
she got it done. So it can be done. It was last minute. It took her up until the whole 6 months, but she was able to get it done. So it can be done if you really want it. So
that's great. That's
yeah.
great. Now, you mentioned that you are one of 19 folks across several 19 installations, correct?
Mhm. Yep.
Um, yeah, so that's pretty cool. And I know earlier you mentioned that if people watch this and they reach out to you,
Mhm.
um, at least we can guide them to someone in their installation or to the website where they can apply and go through their assessment.
Absolutely.
And it should tie back to what their base is, correct?
So normally when you the initial one, when you go to the ibmf.syr.edu,
Hmm.
it'll pull up the 020 locations, and on the locations you'll what's nearest to you, and you'll pick the closest one that's nearest to you. And if there's the closest one, it's got to come up. And if there's not, then automatically you'll go strictly online only, and somebody will definitely reach out to you. But yeah, normally there's one that's going to be the closest to you. But usually I'll get like, Chicago or whatever that, the case is.
Hmm.
And then sometimes too, I have someone that's from ERA Solutions. He's really good about this. His name is Eric, and he does a lot of the briefings here at Fort Campbell. Um, He's so crazy, but he always sends people to me, and I don't mind it at all. He's
Hmm.
great, but the people he sends to me are all over the place,
Yeah.
and I always ask them first where they located, and majority of the time they're either in Texas or they're in Colorado. Well, I have my colleagues in those locations. I don't want to take away from them, so
Right.
I'll do that warm introduction and send it to them. But I definitely want them to get those numbers first. I'm not taking away from my counterparts. So I'll do that for sure for them. But if they're not near installation, by all means, I'm taking them all day
That's great.
long. And I let them know that too. But he's not going to do that part. He'll automatically send them to me. And like I said, he does the recruiting for 0202, and I
Yeah,
appreciate it. But I'm definitely going to make sure that my friends get their numbers too. So
for sure. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah,
Well, Karen, we've been talking for over 30 minutes.
we have
It went by pretty quick.
it did.
K- uh, to wrap up, do you have, what would you say to anyone, service member who's considering your program? What would you advise them to kind of like their first steps? I mean, obviously at this point maybe they're in TAP already and
Yeah,
going through. What would you recommend to a service member who's interested in this program?
perfect. So here's what I would say, and not being biased or anything, 'cause you're not going to hurt my feelings. Here's what I would say. First of all, I want you to research every opportunity that you have. And like I said, you may think you're limited to your installation, but if you go on to the SkillBridge website, you'll see what is available to you at other installations. And if you have the time, make sure that something is interesting to you that's going to be beneficial to you. It may not be O2O, but if you have the opportunity, the availability, the time, you're able to travel, and it's going to be beneficial to you, by all means, take that opportunity. Now, if you don't, and certifications is where you want to be at, by all means, and it's a free program, then definitely reach out to me and
For
let
sure.
me take care of that for you. Um, but every opportunity available to you, take advantage of everything. It's owed to you, you deserve it. Um, and make sure um, that you take care of you. Look out for you no matter what. I will always say that no matter what, you deserve it. These are designed for you, they were developed for you. Um, you went through this process. Um, I thank you. Um, People will say that we love veterans. I really do. My program really does. Syracuse University really does. There's a building up at in New York that's strictly for the military that they've built. If you get a chance to go up there and see it, it's beautiful. So just know that this is a nonprofit. Um, it is a free program. Free is always better, I believe.
Yes.
Um, so just know that there are opportunities out there for you guys. You just have to look for them, get involved, and see what is available. And a lot of times it's always word of mouth, honestly. So get involved with a lot of I know people don't like Facebook, but the veteran pages,
Mhm.
the spousal pages, things like that. Because again, word of mouth networking is where you're going to hear about a lot of this stuff. Okay, so that's what I would say. Um, you deserve it. You've earned it. So why not?
Well, thank you, Karen. And
Yeah,
if anyone listening can see why I was sold on, on the program, because I felt that you truly do care, and the
yeah,
program itself cares, and so I'm all in.
yeah,
Well,
sure.
Karen, that's it for
That's
today.
it for today.
I thank you so much for dialing in and I'm hoping
Yeah.
that this helps those who are considering
Yes.
separating, or spouses, or whatever the case is, understand that there's this program out there for them, and hopefully they take advantage of it going forward. So, Karen, thank you
Yes.
for taking time out of your busy day for us. And I look forward to talking to you in July when our program starts. But thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you.
All
See
right.
you soon.
See you later. Bye.